All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning, June the 11th, 2025, and it's good to be together. We are going to be in our Torah portion this morning. I know it's that time of year when people begin traveling, so when we're all together live, it's always great. But I also know that there's all kinds of movement, but each day when we can take the time to be together in God's Word, to be together and say, Lord, speak to me today. Give me ears to hear your voice. I want to walk in obedience to you and walk in obedience to what you're calling me to do. That's where we want to be. So it's good to be together. I just want to say a quick hello. I normally don't say hello as much anymore, but I'll say hello to Barbara. It's good. Barbara's on the app. And so any of you that can log in on the app, the more that we can do that there, it's because eventually we're going to be doing everything live on the app and then uploading later to YouTube. But Barbara's on the app, so it's good to see you, Barbara, this morning, and to see Joshua on YouTube, and as we and just say good morning to Steve and to the Eddies, to Lauren and Mike and David and Levi and Valor and Haven and Everett, and to Pastor and Sister Martinez. Good morning to Pat and Lori, and to Ron and Amy, and to the McCaffreys, and to Sonia and Eileen. Good morning to Richard and Ellen and Elizabeth, and to Jerry and Janet. And I'm sure you guys, I know this is sort of RV time, so hope you're having a great summer, great trip, and to Dayspring, and hope you're all doing well. To Jason and Ashley, good morning. All right, well, this morning we are continuing in our Torah portion, or beginning this week's Torah portion, which is pronounced Baha'alat. It's a Baha'alatka, which means in your raising up, when you raise up, when you lift up, and so it's Numbers 8. 8, beginning in Numbers 8, going a few verses into Numbers 12 this week, as you can see on our Torah portion, Numbers 8, 1 through 12, and then our Haftarah portion is Zechariah 2 through most of 4, and then Brit Hadashah portions in 1 Corinthians 10 and in Revelation 11. And just a reminder, thank you for your faithfulness in giving to support the ministry. And if you just take a moment, if you're on YouTube, just hit like, if you would. If this teaching ministry blesses you, just take a moment to hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And then, of course, share the teaching with others. And when devotions are made available, when the written devotion is added in, please just take a moment to use that in your own personal devotions, or when you're leading a Bible study, when you're wanting to walk with someone else in this passage. Pray that that'll be helpful for you. If you haven't downloaded the app, go to your app store and just type in Shalom AZ, and you can download the app there. All right. Well, Parsha Baha'alatcha, say that with me. Parsha Baha'alatcha. It begins with, there's a transition right in the middle of this Torah portion. So today we're going to look at, the title of today's Daily Manna is Preparing to Follow God into the Unknown. Today is where we're going to be looking in Numbers 8 through 10, and when we get to chapter 10, in the middle of chapter 10, it's time to move. It's time to get up and move. The people of Israel have been at Mount Sinai for over a year now, at the mountain of the Lord for over a year. They've received the Torah. They've received instructions from the Lord. And so now the Lord is giving them final preparations, as the final preparations for the journey. It's about time to go. And so if you've ever been in that place where you're ready to go, but God hasn't given the green light yet, or you're waiting, or you feel totally unprepared, and now suddenly everything's going to start moving. Well, the Lord is now going to be moving them from a place that perhaps has become a place of a comfort zone, for lack of a better word, a place of at least predictability and stability, they've been in the same place for a year now, and they've been there receiving his word, learning his ways, being shaped, and now the Lord is giving these final instructions. And so Numbers 8 begins with instructions for Aaron the high priest. Moses is to tell Aaron. There are things that Moses' job is to bring forth the word of the Lord to Aaron. This is not what he's telling Aaron to do, is not for Moses to do. He's not to take it from Aaron. This is the instruction for the high priest. And so he begins with these instructions, Baha'alakha, when you lift up or in your raising up the lamps of the menorah. Here's what you're to do. Look at verses 1 through 4 of Numbers 8. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and say to him, Baha'alakha, in your ascending or when you erect the lamps, the 7 lamps are to illuminate the area in front of the menorah. The word menorah is simply from the lighting. The or is light, so menorah is the light. So from the lighting is what menorah means, is the shining forth from the light. Aaron did so. One of the things you'll note throughout the text today is, and they did as the Lord instructed. They're doing it. The Lord's giving instructions and they're doing it. And so Aaron did so. He erected the lamps facing forward, so they illuminated the area in front of the menorah, just as Adonai had commanded Moses. Now, this is how the menorah was made. Hammered gold from its base to its blossoms, just as was the pattern that Adonai had shown to Moses, so he made the menorah. Now we had seen back in Exodus 25, verses 31 through 40, a more full description of what the menorah looked like. But it says here, where we read the word pattern, is the root word there is re'eh, which is to see or a vision. So it's where it says just as was the pattern. The literal translation is like from the vision, right? So like from what Moses was allowed to see. So this was what he saw, and according to what Moses saw, this is how Moses, they made the menorah. Now, what he saw then, we understand, was he had seen the image that the Lord had given him, which we come to understand is a picture of what is going on in the throne room of God. Our Haftarah portion this week, which is a lengthier one, we've gone through the book of Zechariah in the past, but our Haftarah portion covers Zechariah 2 through the beginning of chapter 4. And in Zechariah 4, Zechariah was asked, he asked me, what do you see? I replied, behold, I see a solid gold menorah with its bowl on the top of it, and its 7 lamps on it, with 7 pipes for the lamps that are on top of it. Verse 3, also 2 olive trees are by it on the right side of the bowl and the other on the left side of it. So there's this vision that Zechariah has of the menorah in the throne room of God. And of course, in Revelation 4, we are brought into the throne room of God in John's vision. And in that vision, oh, my lens just popped out. Excellent. In John's vision, I need to get that fixed. All right. Let me put that on and hope they stay in. All right. In his vision, we see the 7 lamps of God. We read in Revelation 4:5. And out from the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and clashes of thunder. And here we see 7 torches. It says 7 lamps of fire. 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God, or the 7-fold Spirit of God. And we've talked about that when we went through Revelation, is the Spirit of God, the 7-fold Spirit of God as laid out in Isaiah 11. Now, sorry, my glasses are all foggy now, and I'm struggling to see. Town get these fixed today, because I cannot have that. But here's the thing. In our passage here in Numbers, here's the Like they're about to go, and the Lord tells Moses, I want you to tell Aaron to do this. And he insists on a particular point. I want you to position the lamps so that they're shining, right? So that the lamps are cut in such a way, because the word that's used here in Numbers 4, honestly, it's the word for cut, or it's connected with the word, when you look up the root word of it, it's like the word for circumcision. But to cut so you're cutting the wicks of the lamps in such a way that they are reflecting in front, they give light in a particular direction. And at first glance, it doesn't give us why that would be important. It's obviously important because the Lord's given this in this instruction, but the meaning of the action becomes apparent when you step back to consider the design of the most holy place, when you take that into account, right? So if the light beamed forward, as the light beams forward, where the light would be shining on is on the table of fellowship, as it were, the table of bread, where the 12 loaves of bread, of fresh bread, right? There's daily fresh bread, 12 loaves, symbolizing the 12 tribes of Israel that are heaped up there, right? And so there's fresh bread for a fresh meal, as it were, daily for God and his people. This is at the table that's just in front of the most holy place. So the light is, the Lord says, make sure just so that the light is shining there, forward, onto this this representation of my relationship, my desire for my relationship with my people, right? This is the menorah must be positioned. The light needs to be positioned correctly, because the Lord wants to bring attention to this. And again, when we saw in Revelation then that the seven lights of the menorah reflect the Spirit of God, and the sevenfold Spirit of God. And in Zechariah 2, where it talks about the sevenfold Spirit of God, whose eyes go around the earth, see all over the earth, right? For the Lord to say, this is what my eyes are on. My spirit, my eyes are on a relationship with my people, right? Because remember, when you bring that bread of fellowship, the bread of even of your sacrifice, when you bring that before the Lord, it's always to be seasoned with salt. It's never to be without salt, right? So this is to be before the Lord. And so, hey, Aaron, before you go, I want this to be, hey, people of Israel, before you go, this has to be central to your understanding. This is about my relationship with my people. Position the light in a way that reveals my heart, right? So you have that initial picture here. Following that, the instructions then shift toward consecrating the Levites. The rest of chapter 9 is about consecrating the priests, the Levites. And so I'm going to touch on this, or chapter 8, excuse me. This is chapter 8. Verse 5. Again, Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, take the Levites from the midst of, or from among Bnei Israel, and cleanse them, or ceremonial cleanse them, and purify them. How are you going to do that? This is what you must do to them to make them clean. Sprinkle the purifying water on them. So right there, it says sprinkle over them water, and then it uses the word chatat, which is generally, it's a word that means sin or sin offering. So where it says purifying here, it's pointing to something that's intended to be concerning our sins, the sins of these Levites, of the priests. The first thing that has to be done is a washing of the water, a washing over them concerning their sins. This is what then becomes like a mikvah, where there is a cleansing, as it were, kind of in the way that you take a shower every day to do a cleansing, it doesn't mean you're never to be showered again because you've been showered once. There's a cleansing that happens. And so this is a sprinkle or over them the water of the sin offering of their sins. It says, then have them shave their whole bodies. The literal language here says, pass over them the razor upon their whole flesh. Right? So there is this picture of a cutting away, a revealing, as it were, of the flesh, and an uncovering in that regard, that they stand before me cleansed and uncovered in this way, but now they're going to wear clothes. So it says they're going to have garments. It says, and wash their garments. Now the word for wash here is a word that means that they don't have a washing machine like we do, but the washing machine, what does our washing machine do? Or at least when I was a kid, what it did is the washing machine had this thing in the middle that would put pressure and on the clothes, that there would be something they would beat against the clothes to get the dirt out, to get the stuff out. And so the language here for wash is to pound, to beat the clothes. And so the washing is to beat that and to get all the gunk out. Wash their clothes, thus purifying themselves. So that they themselves are to be washed, uncovered then, and then covered in clean clothes. Washed in clean clothes, thus purifying themselves. So the language here, when you read in Hebrews 9:9 that says the tabernacle, that everything around the tabernacle was a parable, was pointing to a deeper spiritual reality. That's definitely in view here. I don't have time to go into this morning, but when I was going back through Psalm 51, and the language in David's cry of repentance points back to the language here when he's asking the Lord to wash him and cleanse him, and so there is that. That's what the picture of make me clean before you, Lord. And then of course this is an image. That there is an image here that is alluded to in the Haftarah portion of Zechariah 3, right? Remember when when Joshua, the high priest, is accused by the adversary, and then indeed he is standing there, and the high priest is in filthy garments. We read in Zechariah 3 and 4, Joshua was wearing filthy garments. And that word for filthy had to do covered in excrement. I mean, they were filthy. They were disgusting. And standing before the angel, who answered and spoke to those standing before him, saying, remove these filthy garments from him. And then Joshua said, then to Joshua, to the high priest, he said, see, I have removed your iniquity from you and will dress you with fine clothing. It's an amazing passage. And so we see that there's a cleansing. As you're going to serve me, the people, the Levites are going to serve, there's this cleansing. So you're getting ready to go. And so then in this really beautiful picture, the Levites are surrounded by the surrounding the congregation of Israel. The word adat means the assembly or the congregation, but it also means to surround, the circle. So they surround them, the very ones that they will be representative. They will be standing in place of the families of the house of Israel. They will serve as that mediator. And so the ones that they will be representing surround them and lay hands on them. And then Aaron offers the Levites as a wave off. He does a wave offering before the Lord with sacrifices that are made, and then offers them as a wave offering. So there's an image here of just worship before the Lord. And so you have this picture of before he sends you forth and to do what he's called you to do, let him cleanse you, right? Before they could serve, they had to be purified and washed and shaved and cleansed by water that symbolized their sin being dealt with, and then surrounded by the people that they're represented, right? So there's this beautiful picture. Then verse 8, they are to take a young bull with its grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, so that fine flour mixed with oil, right? So there's a seasoning there. This is a sacrifice of relationship, as it were, plus a second young bull for a sin offering. Bring the Levites before the tent of meeting, and gather the whole community of the children of Israel. Bring the Levites before Adonai. The children of Israel will lay their hands on the Levites, and Aaron will present the Levites before Adonai as a wave offering from the children of Israel. Then they may go about the work of the service of Adonai. In verse 15, after you have purified them and presented them as a wave offering, the Levites will come to do their work at the tent of meeting. Now they can begin to serve in this way, for they are the ones from among the children of Israel given to me instead of all the firstborn from the wombs of the children of Israel. I have taken them for myself. And he points back now to Passover, to the reason for this, for which he's mentioned multiple times now in Leviticus. For every firstborn among the children of Israel is mine, whether human or animal. On the day I struck down the firstborn of the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. Verse 18. So I am taking the Levites in place of the firstborn of the children of Israel. I'm giving the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the work on behalf of the children of Israel in the tent of meeting, and to make atonement for them, so that there will be no plague among them for coming too close to the sanctuary. So Moses, Aaron, the entire community of Bnei Israel did so with the Levites. All that Adonai had commanded Moses regarding the Levites, so the children of Israel did to them. And so we see that happen. One quick note was at the very end of chapter 8, it indicates that the ones serving as Levites are those from age 25 to 50 that actually do the work of the sacrifices, the work of the sanctuary. And then those that are older than 50 are going to they're no longer to do that work, but they can assist, they can help. And I think you see something beautiful about the Lord. There's from generation to generation, and even when they're quote unquote retired at 50, which is, I'm not retired, but they're retired at 50, but still passing on, now assisting the next generation, really. So that's what we, those of us that are older, have to be focused on doing. That's the picture that the Lord gives us here in the priesthood, is on equipping and preparing the next generation to be doing that service. So Numbers chapter 9, the beginning of Numbers chapter 9 says, hey, before setting out, the Israelites are to celebrate the Passover. So on the 1-year anniversary of the Exodus, the provisions are made. They celebrate the Passover. But if there are those that can't do it because they came in contact with a dead body or with death, or because they were away on a journey, if at some point the Lord makes provision, well, you can celebrate Passover. There's a second Passover. You can celebrate Passover the second month. But he doesn't make that sort of like a point of convenience. Like, well, if you can't do it here, you can do it there. He says you don't get to neglect it. There are reasons if you weren't able to celebrate it with the whole congregation, that's fine. But otherwise, you need to celebrate it with the whole congregation. But he says now we're leaving, right? The journey. So now all the preparations are made. The journey from Egypt to Mount Sinai was a journey that, while it may have been a different route than Moses might have been familiar with, he would have been familiar with the place between Egypt and Sinai, right, to some degree. When Moses had fled Egypt in the past, found his way to the Midianites, to his future wife, to his father-in-law, that family, to Jethro. During that time, he was there. That area nearby the mountain of the Lord. That's where he encountered the Lord on the mountain of God in this burning bush. So this was all, at least for Moses, somewhat familiar territory. And now they had been camped here for a year. But now they're going to be they're preparing to follow the Lord into the unknown. They're going to go to the place the Lord will show them. It's a land they're unfamiliar with. It's a desert they're unfamiliar with. And what we see, we're not going to get there today, but we see immediately going into the desert, like as soon as they go, they leave the place that they're familiar with, that they're comfortable with. All of the complaining begins. Numbers 11 and 12 is complaint on different levels, different kinds of complaints. All the difficult things, they turn on each other at that point. And we begin to see that. So, but we're not there yet. So now they're going to go, and the Lord is in their midst. And he's not staying back at Sinai, right? He himself, his glory is going to be in their midst, and he'll show them the way to go. He'll tell them, he'll be able to show them when to go and when to stop, right? He'll shade them by day. He'll warm them by night. He'll be a light to. He'll be in the night, in the dark of the wilderness. He'll be a night light for his children, right? And so that's the picture we get here in this beautiful passage as we continue in Numbers 9. I'm going to move quickly through this. On the day the tabernacle was erected, was lifted up of its raising. So from the very first day it was lifted up. So from the moment of its, when we're talking about the dedication there, where the Lord's glory was there, where he filled the place, the cloud covered the tabernacle. So now they've become accustomed to the cloud being over the tabernacle in their midst. By evening until morning, the cloud above the tent of testimony had an appearance like fire. It was that way continually. So from the night to the morning, it was like fire, right? During the day, it was a cloud. The cloud covered it, and by night, it appeared by fire, verse 16. Verse 17, whenever the cloud lifted up, now going forward, from above the tent, then the Bnei Israel would set out. And at the place where the cloud settled, there the children of Israel would encamp. At the mouth of Adonai, Bnei Israel would set out. And at the mouth of Adonai, they would encamp. All the days that the cloud remained over the tabernacle, they would camp. When the cloud would remain, like how many days? Well, when the cloud would remain over the tabernacle, many days. Bnei Israel would vishamru, it says, and they would observe. They would be like a watchman. They would pay attention. They would obey the command, but they would observe the command, the what the Lord had called them to observe of Adonai, and not set out. At times, the cloud stayed over the tabernacle only a few days. At Adonai's word, they would encamp, and at Adonai's word, they would set out. Verse 21. At times, the cloud only remained from evening until morning. Just one night over, just a quick check out at 11. When the cloud would lift, they would set out, whether by day or by night. When the cloud lifted, they would set out. But it's nighttime. It's time for us to sleep. And now the cloud lifts, or the fire. By night, by night the cloud appeared, the glory of the Lord appeared as a fire. But by night when he lifted, they also would set out. Right? Whether for 2 days, or a month, or a year. Well, how long is it going to be? 2 days, a month, or a year? Yeah, maybe. While the cloud remained over the tabernacle, the children of Israel remained camped and would not set out. But when it would lift, they would set out. At Adonai's word, they would encamp, and at the mouth of Adonai, they set out. They obeyed Adonai's order by Moses' hand. So this is obviously, there's so much that's repeated here, but it's not just repetition. It's saying in every circumstance, this is the deal. They moved when the cloud moved. They stayed where the cloud stayed. Right? Day or night. If he moved by day, they moved by day. If he moved by night, they moved by night. They're there a few days, a few months. If you're looking for an exact predictability that you can nail down exactly where you're going to be when in the plan of the Lord, you're not going to find that predictability. He doesn't give them. He gives them the long-term plan. I'm going to bless you all the days of your life. This is my plan for you. But he doesn't give them the step-by-step plan. The step-by-step plan is walk with me today. If you're looking for predictability, the only predictability is this. The Lord is in your midst. Follow him. Right? Wherever he is, what's predictable is this. Wherever he is, that's where you're supposed to be. When you're in the midst of, now they're going to be going to wilderness they don't know. But the stability is in his presence in their midst. And there is stability in his way, right? He gives the structured reliability and stability of the Shabbat each week, right? The rest that's available there. He gives reliable sustenance every morning. Every morning, predictably, manna ready to be eaten. But you're not going to be able to go ahead of him. to predict his path, get ahead of his path, predict his timing. You wait on him. You go when he says go. You stop when he says stop. You follow his timing, his path. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know when I'm going. Tell me when. Tell me how this is going to look. I don't know. When are we going to get to the land? I don't know. Right? Moses is going to be facing this. People going, how long? When are we going to get to where we're going? Then immediate complaining is going to take root. But the Lord is giving, first of all, clarity to Moses. Hey, I'm going to be in your midst, and you go where I go, you stop when I stop, for as long as I say, for as long as I'm there at my mouth, at the mouth of the Lord, at the mouth of the Lord, at the mouth of the Lord, by Moses' hand. So the Lord spoke, and Moses led. And then in the opening of chapter 10, just before the Lord lifts up and the cloud lifts up and departs, the Lord now gives Moses instructions, signals for how are they to be communicating with the congregation. He gives all of this detail for the communicating with the congregation of Israel, the motion, the movements. It says, verse 1, Adonai spoke to Moses saying, make 2 trumpets. It uses the word for trumpets. This is not the word for shofar. It's 2 trumpets of hammered silver for yourself. They are for summoning the community. They are for calling the circle together and having the camps set out, for the setting out and tearing down of the camp. Whenever both of them are sounded, it uses the word tekiah here. During Rosh Hashanah, tekiah, that's the language. Tekiah is from the word taka, which is it's a single, like a clap, or the sounding of a trumpet. The whole community, whenever they are both sounded, then everyone is to gather. The whole community is to gather toward you at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Right? So Moses and Aaron's sons are camped at the front of the tent of meeting. The Levites surround the tent of meeting, and then the people are camped in their areas, as we've shown before. I've got a image of that. If it's up near the top, Antonio, if you want to show it again real quick, of the camp. But you get that picture of where everyone was there. So if both the silver trumpets are sounded, everyone gather to Moses, surrounding there at the front of the tent of meeting. And then so there you go. You can see on the screen, where everyone is. And then at the bottom is the setting out, which we get a little more instructions on that later in this passage. But okay, let's continue now. But if only one is sounded, then the princes, the leaders, the heads of the tribes of Israel are to gather toward you. So now this is staff meeting. If one trumpet is sounded, now it's the staff meeting with the leaders of the tribes. And then, so there's the tekiah. Then there's the teruach, which is the blasts of the alarm. And the blasts of the alarm are sounded in such a way that say, hey, everybody, it's time to move. And again, the word teruach, ruah, it comes from the word for your voice or for a shout, so that we all have sort of the ability to give the shout. So there is imagery in here, but it says, when you sound the trumpet, verse 5, the first time, when you sound the teruah, it says here, when you for the first time, the camp of those camped on the east is to set out. So now Judah, and then those that are with Judah, they set out first. When you sound the second, now that gives instructions the second time, then the camp of those on the south is to set out. Short blast will be the signal. The teruah will be the signal for those setting out. It's time to move. So teruah means basically on one level, let's move. Time to move, one way or another. When we talk about it as the sound of the alarm, it's time to move, time to get moving. Verse 7, to gather the whole national community, you are to sound the sustained blast, the tekiah. And not the short blast, not the teruah. So tekiah, gather. Teruah, move. That's the picture. Tekiah, come together. Group huddle. Teruah, let's go. Right? So the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, they will blow the trumpets. This is to be an eternal ordinance for you as well as for your generations to come. So as the Lord has spoken, right, then the sons of Aaron, they will be the ones, that sound will come through them to move. Whenever you go to war in your own land against the enemy who is hostile to you, you're to sound the teruach, the short blast of the alarm. Then you will be remembered before Adonai your God and be delivered from your enemies. Also at your days of rejoicing, feasts, and new moons, you are to sound the trumpets, the tekiah, over your burnt offering and over your fellowship offerings. Then they will be a reminder of you before Adonai, a reminder for you, of the presence of Adonai your God, or before, but it's of the presence of your God, the face of God. I am Adonai your God. And so, verse 11, now they finally set out. On the 20th day of the second month of the second year. After all of this time, a year and now the 20th day of the second month since they left Egypt, the cloud lifted up from the tabernacle of the testimony. Then the Bnei Israel set out on their travels in the Sinai wilderness. The cloud came to rest in the wilderness of Paran. So they set out and for the first time by the mouth of Adonai by Moses' hand. Now, the next number of verses, we're not going to go through all of them, is Numbers 10, verses 14 through 28. And it tells us first went the first groups. So Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun go first. Then the Levites, Gershon. So then what happens, this is where we get a little bit different instruction, is that normally you would say Judah and then to the south. But between, here it says, verse 17, look at verse 17. Then the tabernacle was disassembled, and the sons of Gershon and Merari were carrying it, set it out. So remember, those are the ones that are in charge of the tents. Gershon are in charge of all the tents, the cloths. Merari, the sons of Merari of the Levites, they're in charge of all the structures. And what we come to find out, what we would have come back to find out, we weren't able to go through this last week, is that they have, each of the tribes have given them carts with oxen and that are carrying the tabernacle. So the tabernacle, the whole of the tabernacle has set out first. So Judah goes first, then all the outer part of the Mishkan, the tabernacle goes. And then goes the second group from the south, right? The camp of Reuben and Simeon and Gad. Then go the Levites, who are the Kohathites, those carrying the most holy things, right? Verse 21, then the Kohathites set out carrying the holy items, so that when they would arrive at the place where they're going, that because the other group was two in front of them, the other Levites had gone two in front of them, by the time they arrive at the camp, the tabernacle is already set up, ready to receive the most holy things. Right, the tabernacle was to be erected before their arrival. So again, remember, there are myriads, multitudes, thousands upon thousands of Israelites here as they travel by foot. And so as the first group goes out, we've seen the numbering, thousands upon thousands of them. So by the time the Kohathites arrive, the tabernacle is in place. So then after them would go Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin, fifth, and then finally Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. Now, but we're almost done. What I found really interesting, we get a different name here, and for Moses' father-in-law, which Chovav it says in verse 29. It gives us this sort of little picture. We find out that Moses' father-in-law has been with them this whole time. Remember, he brought the sons of Moses and his wife to connect with them earlier. And so now that they're getting ready to leave, he says, I'm going to go back home. I'm going back to the land of the Midianites. And Moses is like, no. I need you. Now, up until now, you imagine that all that area around Sinai, that's Midianite area. That's the area his father-in-law was very familiar with. And it gave Moses, Moses is not, from the moment we meet Moses, he says, I'm not a great speaker. Moses, in spite of everything, he lacks a certain confidence. There's a humble heart here, that he's not like, well, I got this, you can go now. There's a wisdom in his looking to the father in his life, the father figure in his life, that we see here. Numbers 10:29. Moses said to Chovav, son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, or maybe so whether or not Chovav is his brother-in-law or I believe that's most commentaries have said this is another name for his father or father-in-law. Anyway, he says, we're setting out to the place about which Adonai said, I will give it to you. Come with us and we'll do good to you. Because Adonai has spoken goodness to Israel. But he said to him, I will not go, because I'd rather go to my own country and to my own people. Verse 31, he said, don't leave us now. Don't abandon us now, please. And that now is also a word for please, nah. Because you know where we should camp in the wilderness. You can be like eyes to us. It's just interesting to me. Moses has the very presence of the Lord here, but there's even a part of him that's like, that I'd like you to be with us. You know this area. If you come with us, we'll share with you whatever good Adonai gives to us. So they advance from the mountain. So verse 33. So they advance from the mountain of Adonai, a journey of 3 days. The Ark of the Covenant going ahead of them for those 3 days, seeking out a resting place for them. The cloud of Adonai was over them by day when they advanced from the camp. Whenever the ark would set out, Moses would say, arise, Adonai, may your enemies be scattered. Like as you go forward, whatever we're following you. So may whatever is in front of us that would be in opposition to you, may that scatter. Let you continue to clear a path like you did for the Red Sea, as it were. That's kind of the image of you. May those who hate you, and the word for hate you has from in front of it. So it's like it says may they flee from hating you ones. So anything that is connected to from hating God, from being in opposition to God, any of those that are in opposition to you, may they scatter, may they flee from your presence. Lord, open the path. We're following you. So whenever it would rise, he would say, Lord, arise, let your enemies be scattered. We're following you. And whenever it would come to rest, verse 36, he would say, return, Adonai, to the myriad thousands of Israel. Like, be in our midst. And there's an interesting thing here in these two verses, 35 and 36, in the Hebrew text, which is very unusual, is there's a parenthetical, like a nun and an upside-down nun on each side of this section. So that some rabbis call it a book within a book, that it's like that almost like the book of Numbers is 3 books. You have the before, and then this cry to the Lord, and now the journey's going forward. Interesting. And so we see here there's a preparation for God bringing us into the wilderness, but what we'll see as we go to the rest of the passage is that it's not going to be easy. Even though the Lord has made all the provisions for you, but because of our own flesh, because of our own fears, because of our own desire for control, there immediately within that arises up. As soon as things get uncomfortable, as soon as people are out of what they've become comfortable with, everyone starts to complain. All the complaints begin, and I mean, it just shows up immediately. You're like, wait a minute, you just saw this. You just experienced the Lord at Sinai, and now he's in your midst. But there is this preparation as the Lord prepares us, so God didn't save us just for us to sit at Sinai and just receive, right? God's sending us on a journey to what he has for us, and the place to which he's bringing us, we're going to be going through a wilderness. And so before you're going into that, there's the preparing you. Don't forget, this is about relationship with me. Be cleansed by my spirit. Be cleansed by my grace. My eyes are on you, but walk in purity, walk in cleanness. And that menorah's got to shine in the right direction. This is about relationship, right? And then wait for me. You go when I say go. You stop when I say stop. And sometimes we find ourselves trying to light our own way, or maybe you feel disqualified or unclean or unsure, and you say, Lord, I need you to cleanse me. And I'm ready to follow you. I'm ready to go where you say go, when you say. Amen? All right. Well, again, good morning to everybody. We're going to continue through Baha'u'llah, and as we continue also in the book of Hebrews. But may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.